Welcome back. So today's topic is going to be how to do a water change. So this video isn't going to be very long. I'm just going to describe what we do with the water change, and then we're going to go over to the tanks. I have to do a water change on the 20 tall and a water change on the newly established or the newly set up baby convict cichlid grow out tank. So you'll get to take a look at that one today. So let's go ahead and begin. So the purpose of a water change essentially is to supplement fresh rainwater, fresh clean water being flushed through like a river system or a lake or a tributary system. So one way that in nature that the tributaries of the water system is usually being filtered out is through fresh rainwater. Lots of plants are usually help filtering out. But the main purpose of that is that these are really large bodies of water. And the larger body of water, the more it can take impurities and things like that. And a lot of things usually get filtered out and dissolved a little bit easier. But because we're working on a controlled environment, usually a small controlled environment, we have to supplement that rainwater. We have to supplement all that filtration out. So that's why you have to do a water change. Usually what you would do is, the best way is to get some sort of siphoning tool. That way you can get the bulk of the waste that's in your filtration or in your tank system is going to be at the bottom, maybe third or the bottom of the tank. So you want to get some sort of siphoning device to get down to the bottom and really get a lot of that waste and build up out of the tank. It really helps control the ammonia levels, control the nitrate levels. I described that in the previous video when we talked about the nitrogen cycle. So it's really simple. I know a lot of people, from what I've seen, and I've been a victim of this as well, or I've done this myself, is in the past when people would do water changes, what they would do is they'll probably just get a bucket and just take a lot of the top water off. And essentially that's more of a cleaner water, so to speak. You really don't want to take that water. You want to, again, get that water that's in the bottom third of the tank. So with that being said, doing water changes, you probably want to do these, in my opinion, once a week. Now, of course, you can get away with not doing water changes for several weeks, depending on the bioload of the tank, how many fish you got in there, what you're feeding in the tank, and if it's planted or not. Honestly, a lot of people don't really do their water changes that often, and their fish grow perfectly fine. It's just that when you're going into diving deeper into the hobby, you're talking about aquascaping, getting more expensive fish, experimenting with different plant species and things like that. Keeping a focus on the water quality is going to be a key factor. And honestly, doing a water change as frequently as every week or every other week is healthier for the fish. It's less stress on the fish. And honestly, I mean, if you're keeping a pet, you're being a responsible pet owner, just like a dog or a cat, you want to make sure that animal is healthy. And the best way to do that is weekly water changes. So with that being said, I've said enough about water changes. Let's go over to the tanks for example of how to do one. And we'll be right back here. Alright, so we're going to start off with the convict cichlid, the baby convict cichlid grow out tank. That's going to be this 20 gallon long here. I just set this up 2 days ago. Today is Sunday, Sunday the 12th or Sunday the 13th, and that was Friday, so 2 days ago is when I set this tank up. Usually when I set up a quarantine style tank, you probably want to give it a clean maybe every 2 days or so, until you're okay with the animals that are in there. You're sure that they're healthy. Now I just put these babies in there, so I'm going to treat this like a quarantine tank as of now. So for the next maybe month or so, I'm going to clean this tank every 2 days. So here we go. First things first is you definitely want to turn off all the power to all the equipment. I'm going to briefly describe why you want to do that. A couple things. First things first is your heater. If your heater is not in the water and it is on, you could just cause it to overheat and possibly explode, so you definitely don't want that. Your filtration system, there is a little motor in the filtration system. And again, if you have that on and there's no water surrounding it to keep the everything from overheating, again, you could cause it to overheat and short out. Sometimes this equipment, if it is not properly kept up with, can short out and electrocute the fish. So you definitely don't want that. Definitely keep in mind to turn off all of the equipment when you're doing a water change. So here we go. So the power strip that this 20-gallon long one is connected to the top 20 gallons, so they're both turned off. So what we're going to use first is with this bucket, you have your siphoning tool, connect it to a hose, output in a bucket. So usually what you want to do is very simple. You just get the siphoning tool, put it in the water, tilt it up so there's no air, and then lift up and drop. And then the bucket is filling up with water. So generally when you're doing a water change, usually for like established tanks, you probably want to go no more than 50%. I suggest 50% every week or every 2 weeks, alongside with filter maintenance every 2 weeks to a month. So I'm gonna go ahead and let that drain and I'll be right back. All right, so the bucket here is pretty much full. I'm probably gonna fill this bucket up one more time and then I'm going to fill it back up. Now, when I fill it back up, I'm gonna show you exactly what to do so that normally if you have any substrate, sand, rocks, or anything at the bottom, how to keep that from being displaced. I'll probably do more of a demonstration on that when we do the 20 long, but usually what I do is I get a strainer, I put it on the top, and then I pour the water on through the strainer. What that does is that displaces the water that is being pushed down onto the substrate, again, keeping it from being displaced. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the rest of this video, and we're gonna finish out the water change video on the 20 tall, so you can get a better example of what it will look like in your tank when you're doing a water change. Alright, so we're all done with the 20-gallon long cyclic grow out tank. It's time to do the 20 tall. So what I'm going to do again is first you have to unplug everything, make sure you don't shorten out the filtration system, shorten out the heater, and I'm going to go ahead and drain this about 50%. This tank will need to do a little bit of plant maintenance on as well. So what I'm going to do is clip a little bit of the dying plants, and I'm going to actually get a little bit of some Weegia and put it back into this tank as well, because it isn't doing very well in the 20-gallon long here. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright guys, so we have the tank at about 50%. I'm gonna go ahead and fill up the tank using the strainer method I explained a few minutes ago. I'm not going to end up showing that portion as it's a bit too difficult for me to keep the camera steady and fill up the tank. So I'll go ahead and cut back to the video once I have the 20-gallon tall filled up, and I can give you guys a look at what I did with the plane maintenance. So I'll be right back. Alright, so we're done with the water changes. As you can see, we still have a bit of debris floating all over the place, but that's normal right after a water change. Everything's looking good. I added that Lowigia in there just like I stated. It's just, it doesn't show it very well because I had to add a little bit of gravel just to keep it weighted down. Added a little bit of gravel behind the Amazon as well. I clipped some of the leaves off the Amazon are just overgrowing. So this is a look at the 20 tall as of now. Here's one of the angelfish are right there in the back now. You can barely see them, the 2 new angelfish. And I did find out that one of the lyre-tail mollies that I put in here also passed away. So RIP to that molly. I didn't get to name that one yet. I haven't named any of the fish in here yet, but RIP to that molly. Everything's looking good in this 20-gallon tank. You've got to take a look at how I do water changes. Hopefully this helps you out. Let's go back over to the kitchen. Alright, so you saw how we do the water changes. Again, it's very simple. Monthly, you probably want to maybe clean out the filtration systems, maybe every 2 weeks, maybe once a month. Clean out the filtration systems as well as doing a water change. And maybe I'll dive more into filtration in the future. We'll go over the difference between mechanical, biological, and chemical filtration deeper so that you have a better understanding of what's going on in your controlled environment. So this is Willie here with Spaceman Aquatics. I've done enough talking. I'm signing out.